How do you save 1 million lives? The answer is that you do it with this, a cell phone. My name's Chris, this is Abhishek. We're here from the Sentinel Project for Genocide Prevention, and we're going to tell you how we can do that using something called the Ground Information Network. Over the last century, 200 million people have been killed by governments as victims of genocide or other types of mass killing. Not a single one of those deaths was inevitable. Each one was preventable. That's because we now have an academic understanding of how genocide unfolds, the conditions that lead to it, the processes that take place, and that means that we can identify indicators that allow us to predict where genocide is likely to happen and how it's likely to happen, and therefore implement preventive measures and issue warnings out to at-risk populations. The beauty of modern technology is that we now have access to larger amounts of data in a faster time frame than we ever did in the past, so early warning is now completely feasible. The way the Ground Information Network operates is based entirely on crowdsourcing, so let's have a look at the typical user journey. Let's imagine a village in Kenya, a country that we've assessed to be at risk of genocide. Individuals in this village may observe incidents of violence or hate speech, which they would then report to us via SMS. This data would be triaged and analyzed. We would verify it, maybe follow up, elaborate on the data if possible, and then craft warnings which would then be issued, broadcast back to users who could share them with their neighbors and take appropriate action.
When an SMS does reach our system, it is triaged and automatically added to a smart queue to then be analyzed by a human being. The human being, based on the context of the SMS, may then determine whether more information needs to be verified or elaborated, and based on their decision, they contact the initial sender. After all this information is processed and the results are generated, a warning may or may not be broadcasted back to the user.
Now, GIN is absolutely unique and innovative. There are a number of similar projects out there doing crowdsource-based crisis mapping in Kenya, as well as other countries, and also a lot doing human rights monitoring. However, rather than view these other organizations as competitors, we actually view them as sponsors. So groups like CC Niamani, Uchaguzi, the Center for Human Rights and Democracy, and the International Governance Institute are all people that we've talked to and have actually brought on board for GIN as official partners. And that's because the key to success with GIN is community engagement. While what we're doing with the Ground Information Network is unique and innovative, we recognize that technology is only 5% of the solution. The other 95% are people. People on the ground need to understand how the system works, what it can do, what it can't do, what they should expect from it. This means that everything has to be community-based. We need to work through local leaders in order to implement awareness programs, education programs, like I said, so that people have correct expectations of what we can do. And all of this leads to local level empowerment, which has incredible value for both ourselves as an external organization monitoring the situation, and also for local individuals who may not otherwise be fully aware of the situation around them or what they can do to either prevent things from reaching the worst case scenario or in order to cope with that worst case scenario.
Crowdsourcing allows us to produce lots and lots of data, more than what comes in just through the normal channels. This allows us to produce effective analysis and forecasting of warnings. And by this method, we provide a unique warning channel for people who are on the ground and people who would be directly affected by any given conflict. Normal news sources do not reach these people. There's a second nature to our software as well, which allows it to be used for other purposes. For example, a police force might find use of prediction analysis that our software helps us to deliver, to do their duty more effectively for their constituency, for example.
Now, because our software is going to be open source, this means that anybody in the world can adopt it, and we hope that they do. However, they may not have the technical expertise to correctly implement it, which means that for each of those multiple applications people might use it for, we can actually generate some revenue to support GIN through implementation, hosting, and support of the application for other people. And we're going to be successful at doing this because we have a few principles that we'll be following. The first one is adaptive development. This means that while we recognize that this platform is applicable to multiple situations, we need to be flexible in how we apply it in different places. We'll also constantly monitor and evaluate how effective it is, learn lessons from that, and then use those to achieve continual improvement so that the Ground Information Network is a great product.